Hello and welcome back to Geordie Leather. Today we're going to be doing a review of this. This is a new acquisition for the workshop. It's a Just Wood burnishing machine. So let's head across to the overhead camera and we'll put it through its paces. Okay, so here we have it. Like I said, this is from justwood.com. I will put a link in the description so you can check it out yourself. But this is basically the machine. It's a leather burnishing machine, which we'll have a look at in a moment, but we'll go through the basic tech specs for the machine itself. It's a Draper 𝐺HP150 bench grinding motor, which is has a cast iron base and a silver metallic painted finish to it. It has a basic on-off switch on the front. On the back, let's turn it round. You can see the technical data plate. So it's a 370 watt motor, 2 amps. It has a 3000 revs per minute speed, and it's phase 1. It's 230 volts. I believe Just Wood only provide this for the UK and European voltage system, so it's not available for export to the US, I'm afraid. It does come with a UK standard plug, but Just Wood have told me that they can also provide this with an EU plug or an Australian plug if requested to do so. So let's turn it back round again. So when it comes, it's disassembled. It does come with a couple of tools. So it comes with an Allen wrench, which is used to undo this little grub screw, which holds on the sanding disc, so the sanding drum. And on the other side there is a smaller Allen key, which comes with a spare grub screw, which is useful to have. There's a small grub screw just here, which again, very simple to put on and take off. So when it arrives, these two items are separate in separate bags. So the motor itself is fitted with a collet to fit the accompanying accessories. It's a 1/2 inch diameter shaft, so it'll only work with 1/2 inch diameter attachments. So like I say, very simple to attach. The burnishing wooden, what you would call that, the burnishing cog, no, not the burnishing wheel. Anyway, this bit has a built-in metal insert which slides over the shaft securely. Nice confident stop there. So we just retighten the small grub screw. There isn't any sort of locating notch, I've noticed, in the pin itself, which I'm a bit surprised by, but it doesn't seem to need it. So you slide that on, tighten up the grub screw, and that's pretty secure. And we do the same with the sanding drum. Just slides on that side, and using the larger Allen key, just tighten up that. And then basically the machine is ready to go. Now it does come with a couple of extra little rods with indentations, which it doesn't come with any instructions. It just comes with a welcome leaflet. I'm assuming these are for the drum sander for different diameter machines. So you've got a couple of spares there of different sizes, which you could use with a different machine. It comes with this little bent piece of metal. There's no explanation in the provided paperwork what this is for, but I did figure it out and I'll show you later. So that's the machine now put together. It is ready to go. So as I've said, it's a nice solid machine. It's not very heavy. It's about 9 kilos, I believe. It comes with various fixing points. There are 2 big bolts, holes here, which you can bolt it to your bench. and there are also 4 threaded holes, which I assume are for attaching it to some sort of bench grinder stand. So let's get this plugged in and we'll give it a spin. So just to get it going, I say ideally you should fix it to a workbench, but I don't think it'll slide around very much. So we just turn it on. And as you can see, it's quite a quiet machine. There's no real vibration. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll turn it off and we can just test the alignment of the actual spindle. So if I zoom in to this, bring it across, and if I try and line up the edge of this with the grid on the bench mat behind it, like so, we can test whether there is any wobble. So we're going to be looking at this line here. So I've lined up the edge of this piece of wood with this line on the grid. So let's get it started and see if, actually we'll do it by hand. Let's turn it by hand, be safer. So you can see that there is no wobble at all, which means the spindle is nicely balanced. So that's good. Excellent. On the other side, we'll do the same with the drum sander. Let's just line it up against that line. Pardon me, against that line there, and we revolve it, and again, perfect, no wobble whatsoever. So that's excellent. The next step, we will get some leather out and have a go at doing some burnishing. Okay, so I found a piece of 2.5mm veg tan leather, which we'll quickly quickly edge the edges, and then we can see how we do with the machine. So before I do that, just to point out that the machine has various size grooves. One of the big features of this particular item is that the grooves are not domed, they are actually flat surfaces. If we just zoom in again on this, you can see that the surface is flat here. There we are. Normally on a traditional burnisher such as this one, you see the grooves have got a rounded top. Where is it there? A rounded dome shape to them, whereas this, they have a flat top. Now that means that the final burnished edge is superior to this, because this is actually squashing the edges over, whereas this keeps the edge square. But on the very edge of the wheel, the cutout, there is a rounded area. So you've got a flat surface in the middle and a rounded area each side. So when you put your leather in, the flat surface will give it a nice flat top, and then if you gently press against the edge, this will round over slightly the edge of the leather. So let's give it a go. So I've already edged this piece of leather, put a bit of gum 𝐿𝐷𝐿 on it, and let's see how we do. Let's just have a close-up of that. You can see that there is a nice burnished edge there, if you can see that on the camera. Now that was incredibly easy. None of this saves a lot of elbow grease and does the job very professionally. It does state in the accompanying literature that when you first get the wheel, it won't be working at its best. It needs to be sort of worn in slightly. It suggests that you put various scraps of leather through the burnisher just to get it primed, ready for use. You notice there's a very slight burn on the beginning of that leather there, but that's probably down just purely to being a raw piece of lathed timber. So once you put some leather through it, it'll prime it, it'll make the finish even better. So the more you use it, the better the finish will become. But I think if you can see that on the camera, there we go, that is a nice burnished edge, and it took literally seconds. So obviously the other side is the drum sander, and this would be used for preparing the edge of the leather prior to burnishing it. Others have commented with these drum sanders it's best to rub a piece of metal against it initially. That'll take off the coarseness of the grit and won't be so aggressive on your leather. So just to wear that in a bit before you actually start using it with leather. So coming back to the drum sander for a second, and what this mysterious little piece of metal is for. Like I say, it doesn't say in the instructions, well, there are no instructions, it doesn't say in the literature what this is for, and I had to figure it out myself. So when it first came, there was another piece of paper on this, but I changed it just so it looked new for the review. So first thing, let's take off this drum and we'll have a closer look at it. So the mechanism for holding on the paper is a little bit strange. The paper is obviously wrapped around the drum, which is made of wood. I was quite surprised. It's a circular piece of wood lined with some foam, which obviously gives a slight cushion to the surface. Now, to actually apply the paper, I had to figure this out. I didn't have a clue, but there's a small oblong shaped piece of metal inside a round hole, which seems to be gripping. If you look carefully, you can see it's gripping the ends of the paper. Now that's what this is for. You put this key into this oblong piece of metal and then twist it, and that releases, as you can see, the tension on the paper. You can then slide out with a bit of fiddling. You can slide out this tube then and remove the paper. One thing I did notice, that the paper that's supplied with the machine, or if you want to buy extra sheets from Just Wood, is actually slightly too long to fit this. So I had to trim about 10mm off it because the paper was just too long and wasn't locking properly. So once it was trimmed by about 10mm, it worked fine, but it is quite fiddly to get this pressed in to the groove and then to get this metal tensioning, where are we, there we go, tensioning bit of metal into place. Once it's in, you just twist it and that locks those bits of paper together. So it's not a brilliant design. I think that could be improved, or at the very least Just Wood could supply an instruction leaflet of how to do this, because it's not obvious. It took me a while to figure it out. But anyway, there you go. Just before we finish off, if your budget won't stretch to an actual machine itself, Just Wood do sell a hand version of the machine. It's exactly the same principle. They come in pairs, or you can buy them individually. Designed by Armitage Leather. Again, it's the same principle. Flat top with slight rounding to the edges. Now, if you compare this to a standard communal garden Chinese burnishing, you can see there's quite a difference in size. It's quite a bit longer, also quite chunkier, but it's very nice to hold. I do like that. Zoom out slightly. So it's got a nice feel about it. It's more, gives you more confidence. So if you are burnishing this piece of leather by hand, you really do have a much superior tool to the communal garden variety that most leather workers use. Again, it looks like it's made from beech, very well turned. It is laser engraved with justwood.com's address, made in England, registered design, armature leather, handmade leather tools. So a very nice tool. I will certainly be not bothering with this thing anymore, and I'll be switching to using this. It comes either individually or as a pair. They have the square version, which I've told you about, but also a traditional rounded top version if you want to have that rounded top facility. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sizes on the hand tool. Like I say, I really like these. I do recommend them. So these are fine, they're cheap, they do the job, but I'm looking forward to using these, and I suspect I will probably use these in future rather than the old Chinese one. So there we go. That's the review of the Just Wood burnishing machine. Like I say, it's a really good quality machine, nicely balanced, just feels great to use, very quiet, very solid construction. Fix it to your bench and it'll be a permanent acquisition, I think, for most workshops. Again, these things, they're brilliant. I love these. Really well made, beautifully turned, and they just feel so nice in the hand. So again, looking forward to using these and highly recommended. So I'll leave a link in the description. It's justwood.com. They make a variety of other products for the leather crafter. So check them out and enjoy.